And if it has to end, at least I go out like this, being Batman.
Thank you!
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. Do you remember when the Suicide Squad came out? It feels like it's been years, when the reality is that it's just been a few short months, and it has been a harsh time for Warner Bros. Discovery with that game. Who would have thought that spitting on the various heroes of the Justice League and a beloved version of Batman would backfire, besides everyone? And for a short while, I thought that this would be Kevin Conroy's final time being Batman, shot in the face and disrespected by one of the worst versions of Harley Quinn imaginable. But to my absolute joy, this was not the case. There was one final portrayal from Kevin Conroy that we got to enjoy before we let him fade away into the beyond. Going to be honest here, I didn't even realize that there were multiple parts of Crisis on Infinite Earths until it came out, so I rushed through a pretty okay story to get to the ending, and boy was that worth it, because Kevin Conroy's final words as Batman mean a lot to me. It feels like the most respectful way to send him off. Here, let me get this completely right. I care, Joker, about Gotham, about justice, and if it has to end, at least I go out like this, being Batman. Boom. Perfect. It is the perfect final line for the perfect Batman actor. No one will be able to top his performances. It's just not possible. And it feels good for the movie to show him respect and appreciation in his final moments as Batman. Truly the send-off that he deserves and the full reason to watch this trilogy of films.
I love you, brother. I'm sure gonna miss you.
And while the ending lines for Kevin Conroy were great, I do wish that it wasn't surrounded by such a mediocre story. Oh, and spoilers from here on out, by the way. Crisis on Infinite Earths is a series of movies following multiple versions of the Justice League as they come together to stop a threat against the multiverse. For the positives, I thought the animation and designs were really well done. I especially liked the tweaks of each version of the same characters. They did just enough so that I never got confused about who was who and which version was from which universe. And speaking on this, I would like to add that I loved the characterization of each of the players in the story. There was no time where I felt that a character was out of line with how they normally are, or at least should be. I enjoyed the quips and the interactions. In addition, there's finally some version of a DC film out there which puts respect on Jon Stewart for being the best version of Green Lantern, which is big in my book. No, it's not Hal or Guy, it's Jon Stewart. He's the best. And finally, I thought the story was overall well paced out and used all of its tools without leaving giant plot holes. So it's a coherent, character-driven experience with multiverse-ending consequences. But in the end, the films ended up being just okay. A solid 5 to 6 out of 10 experience, with people who really love superheroes giving it about a 7, and if anyone actually really hates superheroes, they'd probably give it a 4, but I don't know why they would be watching this trilogy of films if they hate heroes, so
Here we go.
Before I get into the problems with the films, I would like to compare it to a book which I recently read, The Three-Body Problem. The first third was rough, leaving me wondering where exactly it was going. The second third was the most interesting part, with me wondering how exactly they would solve the problem, and then the final third left me completely disappointed with the solution to the three-body problem itself. That is this trilogy of films for me. The overall biggest problems are that there are so many characters in different versions of each individual character that's hard to anchor onto anyone. It all feels like excessive cameos being thrown at the audience to distract them into caring through nostalgia alone. And to be fair, I went, oh wow, at some of those cameos, but that died after a while. Because in the end, there's no real reason to care about any of this at all, because the conclusion sucks so much that it drains the enjoyment right out of you, where all of the universes merge into one, restarting everything, all the while visibly erasing the Super Friends and the Justice League cartoon versions, not to mention the Teen Titans. In some ways, it feels like a dismissal of the past. I had to internally convince myself that these were just cameos instead of the actual versions that I grew up with, just so that I didn't hate the film altogether. The alternative was to feel like my time was waste, besides the Kevin Conroy Batman scene.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Effectively, every single character died. They were all reincarnated into one version, meaning that they're basically dead, and everything that just happened really doesn't matter. All of the sacrifices were for nothing, because this would have happened anyway. Everyone would have been destroyed and reset, but then I guess their 0.00001% wouldn't have been added to the prime versions of themselves, and it just feels all nihilistic as hell, like nothing mattered in the slightest. And to be fair and as charitable as possible, there is an interpretation that this could be a commentary on the process of rebirth and recasting for superheroes, and how it will continue forever, and that while Kevin Conroy might be gone, his legacy will live on through all the people that he inspired. A part of him will always exist in Batman, even if it's just a small part. If you look at it metaphorically, it's a beautiful conclusion for Kevin Conroy. For these other versions of the characters, it kind of sucks epic donkey balls. So there's the smoking the hopium version of looking at the film, and then there's a it's just a stupid comic book film that doesn't matter version of looking at the film. And both thought processes exist in me at the same time. So what does that say about me, I guess? I don't know.
What is wrong with you?
Like the three-body problem, the solution in this trilogy of films was the most basic, obvious idea that anyone could have conceived. No creativity, no care, no hope. It's only because of the circumstances around this final film that I even watched the movies altogether. And Kevin Conroy is the only reason to remember it, and also Mark Hamill's last performance as the Joker as well, but it did not sound like him. What did they do to his voice? I'm not kidding here. I was convinced that someone else did the Joker here. Honestly, you should just watch the clip of the Kevin Conroy scene on YouTube whenever you want to remember him, especially because the new versions of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman sound like they're going to suck in the comics, just taking everything away from them that made them who they are. Why not just make new characters instead of stripping them of their families and of their wealth and of their experiences? Oh, because the ideas wouldn't make any money if you didn't do it using these already established characters? Ugh, God. Well, at least they give Kevin Conroy some respect. That's at least a reason for the films to exist. I gotta give them that. You're welcome to disagree with all this. That's fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
Like, oh shoot, that could have been really bad. Meanwhile, there's like 70 bodies writhing in pain on the ground behind him.
Thank you all so much for watching.
You're still here?
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. You bye. Boom.
Do not despair.